And we're back and ready for the grand finals for the Go4GuildWars2 Monthly Cup. It's time to find out if the Elusive can upset the Abjured. I'm not sure how likely it is to happen. Probably lower than 10% of the one that
Yeah.
you've given the last time. But, let's just be realistic here. How likely is it that Elusive can pull this one off?
Like I said, it's the odds of elusive winning are very low.
Okay.
It's I don't want to count them out completely, but being realistic, more than likely, Abjured is going to be walking home with today's victory.
Okay.
But
Now, specifically, how about what are some ways that they can increase their chances here? Like, what are weaknesses, if any, of the Abjured squad?
they just need to. It's not necessarily about abusing weaknesses, but more to playing to the strengths of. Again, they have what is, in my opinion, a very good comp: 3 Sellies, 2 Bursts, and a Burst comp that works extremely well together with a Dagger Pistol Thief and a Shatter Mesmer. That burst in general is enough with when combined and when communicated properly within a team fight to easily knock out any sort of Selly player. So if they're communicating that properly, if they're defending those players,
Sure.
which they did have a little bit of trouble with in their first matchup, if they're defending those players and allowing them to stay alive, stay in the action, and just in general dominate those opponents and knock out those Selly players one by one, there's a pretty smart chance, in my opinion, that they could win a couple team fights. Now again, with them being new, that's going to be a lot harder to pull off, but if anything is going to put Elusive ahead in these matchups, it's going to be that cooperation between the Mesmer and the Ellie. Or
Okay.
apologies, the Mesmer and the Thief.
Gotcha. So just worry about your own game plan and making sure that Abjure doesn't disrupt it and that you can execute it cleanly. I like it. I like it. There were moments of indecision and hesitation from the past in the couple of series that we saw, but it seems like they're here in the finals and they at least can be happy for that. It's a small victory. But in the big grand scheme of things, can they take down this juggernaut known as the Abjured? Let's take a look at the screen to see, once again, for anybody joining us mid-broadcast, to see what these guys are bringing today. We've seen a lot of the Abjured in the past, and they're not changing up too much of what they already have tried and true. Of course, we have Phantom, Wakey, Magic Toker, 5-gauge, and Nos. Nos, of course, that Necromancer, which we saw to use to great effect. And, of course, a Magic Toker on that Sword Dagger Thief there. And then going over to the Elusive here, who are some of the key players on trying to make sure that this composition can go to full effect? Is it the Bursters, or is it the people with the Celestial Amulet to hold things down?
It's definitely going to be the Bursters, both Aerox and Zeramis. We're still waiting on them to get themselves into these games, but so Zeramis is actually shielding in Spectator mode right now. I believe we're just waiting on Aerox to get himself into the map at the moment. But, again, as we said, that Shattered Mesmer running with, I believe it'll be a 60044 split, tends to be the standard Shattered Mesmer comp. Again, very high burst damage, to kind of stick on the outsides of the fight, but then kind of diving in when he wants to finish people off as well, is generally what we'll be seeing from him. And then, like we saw with Cade, at least in the first match of the last game, we are going to be seeing Aerox playing a Dagger Pistol Thief build, where he'll be running with a 26006 trait split more than likely. Kind of, again, when he's ready to go in, he needs to wait for the appropriate time to dive in on his opponents, but when that time comes by, he moves in, can execute players, and because, again, he's running with a Sherpo, very high mobility, which means there's going to be a lot of options for him to backcap. Now, differently from our first matchup, where the players on Academy Gaming did not actually have a Thief to backcap, it's going to be a bit different this time around, so they're going to have to deal with it. I don't believe Radioactive had a Thief playing for them either for those few moments that we were in the game watching there. So this is going to be a slightly new dynamic that they will have to be aware of now, is the fact that Magic Toker will not only be a bit of a bursty presence in these fights, but will also be pretty often, more than likely, considering the way he played in the last set, going for backcaps and going for steals on these a lot of these fights and a lot of the map rotations here too. So it's going to be a bit of a new factor that hopefully Elusive are aware of and are definitely going to have to consider when moving around the map.
All right, looks like Zeramis is in, which means we're missing one more player. Where's Aerox?
Asking them right now.
Gotcha. Well, he will be a guy that we're keeping an eye on. One thing, though, that's for certain, he is going to be targeted down pretty quickly. Cade was downed constantly, so much so that the people were keeping track of how often he was getting slayed.
Yes.
And not necessarily to his discredit, but just the fact that they realized by they targeting down the enemy Thief, it shut down a lot of the damage and locking it out. And if you are able to lock out Ostrich Eggs and it's not Aerox, excuse me, Cade as the Thief and the Engineer, from that point on, you just really couldn't execute anything as DOD. So this time around, Aerox, he saw the previous series. He's probably keeping his eye out for what's coming here. Definitely as a Thief player.
Yep, and as we saw too in the last set, how we had that kind of toppling down domino effect with the elimination of Cade, opening up a lot of opportunities for Nas to do free DPS, we've got a similar factor here as well. Magic Toker, with his ability to take down Aerox, if he's able to pull that off, he'll need to do it 2 times granted, because he'll need to eliminate Zeramis as well. Thankfully, again, SD Thieves are a direct counter to most Mesmers there, so he shouldn't have any trouble at all gimping out Zeramis when the opportunity presents itself. With those 2 dead, that opens up a lot of free opportunities now for Nas to move in and eliminate Horde, and from there, the comp just unfortunately starts to fall apart for Elusive. So Elusive needs to be aware of this and try their best to abuse it as well by taking out Magic Toker first and then whittling it down through Nas and then the other 3 silly players.
So the Mesmer here feels more like a liability than anything else, huh?
It's definitely going to be a bit risky while running against an SD Thief. It's going to be a lot harder to keep himself alive. Again, they've got 2 Ellies on the side, similar to the way that the Absurd has it, which is going to be quite a bit of support in case things start to go bad for Zeramis, but still, he needs to be aware of this. He needs to have his immunity ready to go, and he needs to make sure he doesn't get jumped on too often by Magic Toker. And Aerox as well definitely needs to be, his main job has got to be, let's kill Toker, because if he lets him jump on Zero, and Zero is kind of all in his lonesome there, Zero's 9 times out of 10 going to lose that fight. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll see if they can work in tandem as well as they did in the first series of the quarterfinals. Forest has begun. What's going on with the splits here, Blue?
As we take a look here, we are seeing a 3-man cross, technically a 2-man cross now coming out from the guys on the Absurd. Ender will spot this out, which means there will be appropriate rotations coming out from the guys in Elusive now. They'll be jumping from Stealth, I should mention, probably onto Phantom first and trying to knock him out. Huge DPS going to open up over here onto Phantom as he tries to get out of the way of this combat here at the moment. Going to move away with a Lightning Flash, but it's not going to stop them from going down. Phantom falls down, but as does Aerox now. Horde will bring down a crate to add some chaos into this matchup. Definitely superior DPS going to go onto Phantom there, so Aerox is going to get himself back up now with the rally, and this will force members of the red team away from this team fight and back towards the mid engagement.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a scary moment if Phantom went down, but thankfully they were able to take out Aerox. And now Zeramis is also pretty weak as well, just had to escape. And in the end, the match started off pretty even. Both teams were able to secure their home nodes. Nazcok, of course, trying to contest, or trying to hold on to rather, as Ender is trying to contest this node, getting the knockdown and trying to see if they can get the advantage. But for the most part, seems like a pretty even opening here.
As we did note there too, there was a bit of an engagement between both Magic Toker and Aerox. Aerox just barely able to escape that 1-versus-1 with only a 282 health pool, so thankfully he's going to get out of that one alive. But as we go back over here towards the towards the mine once again, Ender is unfortunately going to find himself in the downstate at victim to Nas as well as Magic Toker's DPS, and then soon we will be seeing this node falling back, or rather staying in the control of the Absurd as most of the action moves towards middle. But keep in mind we still have that decap going on back over here at the Henge too, but 5Gauge along with Phantom now are still fighting for control of this one. Zeramis will probably go down first, which should alleviate a lot of the pressure that was going on towards 5Gauge there, but with him being low, I wouldn't say this is done just yet. Need to get this stomp off rather soon though.
Wow, everyone's so low. Horde goes down. Zeramis is also victim to it as well. Wakey barely being able to survive every single time, and of course Magic Toker adding the support here is doing a great job. He ends up getting down, but most likely will be able to be protected by his teammates, as it looks like Absurd is back in business and being able to try to command this mid node, although still a good attempt here from Elusive.
And back over here in mid, it's looking like the Absurd has pretty much full control of this point here as well, and we're kind of going to get ourselves into the same situation that DOD put themselves in at the start of their set back on the Forest in our last match too. You can take a look at the big map now and see that they're kind of all split up right now. Zeramis is split from the rest of the group, as is Ender and Horde. They'll be grouping up soon. Aerox is getting a one-off decap, but he'll soon be surrounded in a 2-versus-1 until Ender can reinforce, but he won't be doing that either because he's heading to mid. So this is that unfortunate portion that DOD put themselves into here as well, and the fact that they're not really organized right now. They're kind of all over the map, and this is where Absurd is constantly going to swing ahead, is because that is what the comp thrives on. They did get themselves back together pretty quickly, however, I have to say, and they've now got a consistent 2-man push heading in towards mid to take on Wakey and take away the mid node.
I love the control over the courtyard area that connects all of these nodes together. It's just such a strong opportunity for them to spot and get the lines of sight, spot any people going for the back cap, control all 3 points. And once again, even though it started off for a brief second where it looked like the Elusive was able to get on an even foot, they are falling so far behind, as it's such a good job done by Wakey to hold on to this midpoint, not let it go, call for the support, get the rotations. Phantom's here now bunkering down the spot, and I don't think Absurd is going to be letting go this position anytime soon.
Back in mid two, taking a look to Horde's down at the moment. Not looking good for the Absurd here.
Too.
Yep, as we take a look back over here, we are going to see an attempt from Aerox to go for a decap back over at the Henge. Same was going to be happening from Commander Quaggan / Orun, but that is going to probably fail. Gets an RTL off to try and get away. But Magitoker's right behind him there, which means he's going to be able to keep up with that one. And soon we'll probably be seeing him falling into the downstate right now as well. So still full map control for the Absurd. Elusive, unfortunately, due to them being split up here, they are going to be definitely behind for these next few minutes. Hopefully they can get a regroup off, as that's what's needed at this point, and then they can get themselves back onto a single point and start going for a big fight.
Well, we did have a couple of decaps. Ender successfully getting the decap, and of course, we do have an attempt to go here on the Henge, but in the grand scheme of things, even if they hold it off, it seems like the call for help has been heard. And as a result, the Henge being held down by 5-gauge and Fantram, Aerox going down as well. I mean, Horde also is looking like he's going to be hunted down pretty soon. And overall, Absurd, again, locking down every single position. Just look at the rotation again. Magitoker be able to take out Commander Quaggan, coming back down around to help his teammate here. And once again, being able to impose his will and just doing so much this game.
And as we check out once again what's happening, there's going to be a little bit of action probably happening at the beach here. Toker, oh, actually doesn't spot this one. So with Toker getting a little bit too trigger happy, jumping over here onto Zeramis, we'll still get the kill off, granted. But again, it is going to leave open a spot now for Commander Quaggan to come in and score a decap on the mine. Again, in the grand scheme of things, this will not mean much because of the fact that we still have full and somewhat uncontested map control for the Absurd. But at the very least, it may give them a staging point of which they can regroup from and then push forward out of.
Yeah, Commander Quaggan finally capturing their home node in the mine, trying to see if they can get themselves a little bit of momentum here. But it's like you said, even though Magitoker might have overextended a little bit, the teamwork of Absurd is just so good that it gives them the room for error there, where you can just kind of overstep a little bit, play a little looser, and as a result, take a little more risk that pays off. Once again, another member down here, Aerox and Horde. They're going to be sitting out there for a few more seconds until they get the respawn. Ender now also victim to the combo, and I don't know if he's going to be able to survive much longer, which once again begs the question, can they even hold on to their home node if the Absurd makes a push for it?
And it's not looking like that's going to be the case again. You got to keep in mind, too, this isn't actually technically speaking Elusive's home node. This is the Absurd's home node. So even if we do see a couple of Absurd's members go into the downstate, they're just within arm's reach of a respawn, walk over to this point, at which point, again, Absurd can just completely redouble their numbers and overall can have a strong fight continue on for infinitum, whereas Elusive is going to be trapped in this point, really unable to go anywhere for who knows how long.
God, that's my mistake. You're right. Absolutely right. Well, here it's... at this point, I take a look at the score, and it doesn't really matter whose node it is. I think it matters who's in decisive lead here. 400-72. It's almost an exact repeat from the previous series. And, well, I would say that there's a 10% chance to come back from here. What do you think?
I don't know. It might be a little bit less than that now as we're approaching over the 420-point mark for the Absurd here at the moment, holding all 3 points and not really looking like, except for mid, that we might have a decap, but even that might get thwarted here now as Wakey going to be on his way to that point, rocketing through here with an FGS. Blue team not even going to be able to get that decap attempt off there, so with Absurd locking down the 3 cap towards the end of the game, it's definitely going to be safe to call it now. Absurd will take the opening match, putting themselves up 1-0 and only one more match away from taking home this monthly's top prize of $1,000, sending home Elusive with second place.
Absolute dominant performance today thus far. Their job's not done yet, but it's been pretty convincing, and I wonder what happened in the quarterfinals. If they look this good, I mean, the quarterfinals had to be equally one-sided with how things have been going so far.
Definitely. Absurd more than proving today that they are still one of the top teams in North America, possibly the world here as well, as they gear up for the WTS qualifiers. Now just a few weeks away here, as all teams are, and I think this is going to be a nice reminder, not just for, a nice reminder really for all teams in North America, that if we want to get that first place spot, granted, teams only need to get the second in North America if they want to be heading to Boston for the WTS finals, but still, if they want to beat them and kind of bring their ego down a little bit, they're really going to have to work a lot harder, especially at the LAN itself.
Absolutely, and of course they want to start working towards that goal, right? They want to start breaking it. It's too long. It's just 2 teams above head and shoulders above everyone else. It's time that you start increasing the breadth of competition in North America, so maybe Elusive can get the valuable experience. But it's tough. The games are lasting 3-4 minutes. That's not much experience to be had
Yeah.
at this point of playing against the caliber of play. As we go into Legacy of the Foe Fire, can they change anything up here?
Well, as we said, coming into this game, we saw similar mistakes that DoD made against the Abjure. They split up too much. They weren't going for regroups really at all. Granted, again, Abjure was doing a fantastic job of stopping those attempts at regroups, but still, there needs to be a concise effort from these guys. And regrouping isn't necessarily
Yes.
the best thing all the time, but based on the way that Abjure is currently playing, where they just go for the straight up lockdown right for the start, that's probably going to be their best option. If they start to get split up, if they start to get pushed into smaller node fights, that's not going to be where they win. They need to keep themselves together as a singular group, go for one node, get control of that node, and then expand out from that point, hopefully getting a snowball by knocking out
Stabilize.
1 to 2 players from the Abjured on those points themselves. That can happen pretty easily on this map because, points are a straight shot in a line. You don't have to worry about getting back capped most of the time. However, again, it's just the fact that they need to start off with that snowball and keep it going for the rest of the game, which up to this point, no team has even been able to start that snowball. So it's looking pretty daunting heading into game 2 here for Elusive.
All right, well, let's see if they can do it. I think we're ready to go on our end. And, well, I can tell that the Abjured are pretty pumped and ready to go because they
Yeah.
want to get this over and with there and get their $1,000 check. But, I mean, it's not over till it's over. I've seen pretty wild things happen in all of esports. It doesn't really matter if it's Guild Wars 2 or ever game. There's been crazy comebacks. And what a story it would be if Elusive could be one of the first teams to take down the Abjured here.
I had a crazy game a while ago on a lower level tournament. It happened quite a few months back. We actually see one team getting a little bit too confident in one game, and it was on this map actually where they had over a 300 point lead. I want to say it was 410 to like 100 something, and somehow miraculously, due to mainly overconfidence on that winning
Really?
team's part, they were able to completely flip that game around, go and kill the Lord, and take that victory away from them.
Oh,
So. Not sure if we'll see that kind of attitude here from Abjured, considering the pricing on the table here today versus what happened that time, but we're gonna have to wait and see. We do actually have to wait. Oh, sorry, didn't need to pull that up. We do actually have to wait here for just a few minutes. One player is gonna go ahead and restart his router here as he's having some connection issues, and then we'll be able to hopefully get him back in the game here pretty fast and get started with that second game.
All right, so as we get that player back into the lobby, we want to remind you guys to also check out the brackets, or if you have an opportunity to sign up yourself, go for it at eslgaming.com. Click on the Guild Wars 2 and get involved. I mean, grab 4 players and see if you guys can be the ones competing. It's pretty hard because considering that these teams have been with each other for a while, they've been practicing a long time, they're incredibly skilled. But you got to start somewhere, and a lot of these teams, they're not really being challenged that often,
Yeah.
right? You want to try to get more of that competition. So those of you watching, go ahead and sign up yourselves.
If you are looking for a little bit something more milder, of course, there are also a few other options that you can find over on the forums and all across the internet for Guild Wars 2 tournaments. For instance, on Saturday nights, there is, I believe, they are the Academy Gaming Weeklies. Those happen on Saturday nights, and again, more info for most of these tournaments can be found over on the PvP subforum with most topics are sticky too. There's also the Miss PD Weekly, which happens Thursdays nights. Those are aimed mainly at newer teams that want to play, not necessarily solo players, which is what the Academy Gaming one is aimed at. And as well, you can sign up on Sundays for the weekly, which you can use to qualify for this event itself, which happens every month, which again, you could be here next month, possibly playing for a top prize of $1,000. If you want to sign up for the ESL
Dang.
Cups, just go over to play.eslgaming.com/guildwars2 for more information on how to play in these weeklies. They happen every Sunday for North America at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific.
You compete a fair amount yourself. What's the most prize money you've ever won
In
playing
Guild Wars?
Guild Wars? Yeah.
Nothing.
Oh, you never played the money.
When I used to play, I played
Right.
before spectator mode and custom arenas had been in.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't like physically possible to have tournaments when I was still playing in the
Right, or
scene.
at least the way it was broadcasted and prized. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. It was like like I challenge like our clan will take on your clan.
Yeah, it was kind of like it wasn't really that. It was more just because we only had like a queue, so it was kind of like if you wanted to play someone specifically, you had to try and queue at the same time, or you would have
Oh,
those
yeah, we've
surprise
all been there.
matchups where you'd be like, oh, it's like when you meet a pro on the StarCraft ladder or something like that.
Sure, yeah. Other games had the same thing too, where they didn't have a custom lobby, so it's like you have to just say, all right, well, 3, 2, like, let's go, 1v1. It's like, all right, well, 3, 2, 1, Q, and you hit different people, and just funny, awkward situations happen there. Don't worry, I've earned the same amount playing Guild Wars professionally as you have. I guess we're still waiting on the player here to just log in, make sure to get everything coordinated. It looks like
he's back in the server now, so we're just waiting for him to join on the team and then get his ready up rolling here. So he's loaded back in. Alright, and he's back on teams now. So sorry once again, guys, for the delay. We just had to have one player really quickly reset his connection. He's back in now, and he should be readying up in just a second. So we should be able to head back into the game as it is starting now, folks. So what could possibly be the last game for today? Here we go. Abjurd currently holds the set in their favor with a 1-0 lead. If they take this one, it's all over, and they're taking home $1,000. As for the Elusive, they tie this one up. We're going to go to the tiebreaker, Game 3 on the Battle of Kylo to determine the victor of the December Go4GuildWars2 Monthly.
All right, in the opening movements, see how these teams split. Last time we saw Elusive on Legacy of the Faux-Fire, they did an awkward switch where they weren't decided to go to mid, or they're going to stay on the home node. And I think they're going to do the same kind of thing. They're going to evaluate based off of it and hide some information before deciding to go for the waterfall, where 3 members from the Abjurd will also be meeting them.
Keep in mind that when this engagement comes off here, too, the 2 players from the blue team do have a bit of an element of surprise. They're going to try to dive back in over here, too. Horde, unfortunately, is going to take a large amount of DPS and will go down here, whereas over on the red side, there's been only minimal damage applied to Nas, since he was able to get a healthy amount of death shot off before they actually dived onto him there. And as you're going to see now, there's really not going to be much pressure going on to the red team. So as, at least for now, the Abjurd will hold the advantage in this waterfall fight, and by taking it, more than likely taking advantage, at least on the rest of this map, too, because they do have both Aerox and possibly soon Zeramis trapped in this point.
Well, Aerox is down, and Horde just dropped too quick. It was just, we weren't able to get the element surprise off, and as a result, just fought 2v3 the entire time. And now the Abjurd, well, the lead has been secured, and I've seen this happen too many times where the lead never ends up dropping because of the rotations. They're able to control it. 5 gauge coming in to rotate to help Nas, who was getting pretty low, but he's been doing a great job staying alive so far. And from here on point, as soon as they secure each of the nodes that they have on the outer ends, they just make a pretty concerted push. I mean, there's 2 members down here, 4 or maybe even 3. Zeramis looks like he's really low as well.
Zeramis trying so hard to get out of the way here, but unfortunately at the end of the day is not going to be too successful. We will note, however, that Nas has gone down in this period of time, and Zeramis is kind of out of harm's way here. So if Horde can get this stomp off onto Nas, that's going to be a bit of a comeback now. Unfortunately, however, even though that blue team Elusive is making some significant progress over here on this node, on the rest of the map, they've got full control back in mid. Fanta versus Ender will not be going anywhere anytime soon, and of course red team's home node is being held without any contestation right now either. At the end of the day, Nas is looking like he's going to go down, as is 5 gauge though, so Elusive will be getting themselves back into this game, back over here at the waterfall now, as they are getting possibly a little bit close to getting this cap back.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually great that they're able to win that fight on the waterfall and be able to push back a little bit, decap mid, but a nice little lead, a small cushion here for Abjurd to start things off, and getting the decap and the counter cap here on the graveyard is pretty crucial if they can hold on to the waterfall node as well. So Elusive has the startings of a potential way to come back into this game here. Can they follow it up with strong play? I mean, I think the Abjurd just has to rally here and make a good push.
Back over here in mid, too, it is interesting to note that they were able to steal that away, and they've got Ender along with Aerox within the zone here. In fact, Aerox is going to abuse their position a little bit, and Aerox will move in for the decap back over here in the quarry, will get it, which will even out their odds back in mid, possibly give Aerox the chance to eliminate 5 gauge from the map, which will keep Nas planted at that point and unable to do much to support the fight that's still going on back over here at the waterfall.
Yeah, well, Magic Toker trying to come in for the +1, but ends up getting pushed. A lot of damage being put on him, and Nas as well. Both these members, the big damage dealers, and Magic Toker does end up dropping. Nalskok, well, it looks like he's going to survive for a little bit of time, but a lot of members dropping low for each team. Aerox, of course, wisely trying to go for the decap as well. I mean, this is an opportunity for Elusive. Like we said, if you hold into the middle, keep putting on good fights on the outside nodes, they're starting to climb back in here.
Yeah, Nas has fallen down with him being eliminated. They're really not going to have much team fight pressure at all, especially with Toker being out of the fight here now too. Back over here at the quarry, Aerox is still playing with Phantaram at the moment and is going to get yet another decap versus these guys. Excellent job so far by Aerox in stealing that away. Heading back over here towards the midpoint now as we take a look at that. Things not looking so good for the guys on Elusive despite their current map control at the moment. Ender being down, they need to get him back up and into play, but there's a lot of DPS going on to Wakey. And now with him going down too, this is their chance to come back and maybe get a successful defense of this node.
Yeah, if they can last that long though, because it looks like Wakey is back up, and that's going to put a lot of pressure. Just look at all the Condi damage being pushed out here. Aerox and Commander Gwagon simultaneously have been downed, and Ender, of course, is almost victim to that as well. And that would be 3 members down for the Elusive. If they can stay alive, they still have a fighting chance to hold on to it. But in the meantime, Abjurd is still making a strong push here to try and decisively swing the map. Is that 4 members down?
This is going to be a 3-cap hold now for the Absurd by eliminating
gosh.
all these members. All a full team wipe across the map at the moment in favor of the Absurd. They have essentially handed over the keys to the kingdom over to the guys on the Absurd, and they are going to get an easy 3-cap, which they're going to be able to probably hold on to. Now, to be honest, they might have just handed the game over with that play
what
right
happened?
there. It's unfortunately, again, they just weren't focusing that well. They had a player down, they had Wakey down and ready to go, as was Ender at the time. I do feel that with Wakey going down first, they probably could have killed him, but positioning was just not in their favor. They wanted to try and focus on getting their players up. A lot of people took corpse cleave when they were trying to go for those reses onto their own players, and unfortunately falling victim to that now.
Wait.
Oh?
We see a push going into the blue base here. We have the stealth going down. They're rushing the Lord. Absurd is going for the elusive Lord. And they're not reacting.
Blue team is too focused on getting their home node back right now. You can see this is before 350. Very rarely does this happen at the moment. So with this push going in, they're not going to see this coming. It's already dead. The Lord's down, and we don't even have to look at that one to see that happen. Complete uncontested. There was really no point in Elusive to fall back. By the time that Lord push would have gotten scouted out, it would have been already too late. So I actually applaud Elusive's decision to just go back here, because now what's going to happen is a bit of a fallback. And this is that cockiness that I was talking about a little bit there for the Absurd, is the fact that that wasn't necessarily required. They had a 3-cap. They probably could have held on to the waterfall node too. But right now, they have essentially handed over, at the very least, a 2-cap to the guys on the Elusive's team now. And if they do well over these next few moments, they might just be able to hold on to it and keep this going for the next few minutes.
Well, 5 gauge does interrupt the stomp from Horde, so that way it gives them stall time for that Wakey to be able to last a little bit longer, and maybe they can fight back. All they have to do is just really essentially reset it. But look at the point advantage, and that can be made up very quickly by the 2 or 3 cap that's currently being held. But like you said, I mean, I feel like as there's moments where the elusive has been caught out of position, Horde is already down, and the Absurd are already starting to make a pretty strong counter push to secure back these nodes. I mean, even though they're cocky, I feel like they have a lot of swag and confidence going behind them right now.
I mean, at this point, it is within safety range for Absurd to just win with a 1-cap. So them getting Waterfall is enough of a victory to say, yeah, okay, we're still okay. As long as we hold on to this, and as long as they don't Zerg it, which, considering how much presence they have on other points, there's no way in heck that is going to happen
Wait 1
anytime
minute
soon.
and you win anyways.
Yep, they just gotta wait. It's gonna be a little bit longer than that. It's gonna take them a little bit of time, because with only 1 cap, they're only gonna be getting about 30 points a minute. But they can still definitely, if absolutely necessary, hold on to this 1 node. So with that in mind, Elusive's got to be fighting a little bit faster in these team fights and a little bit more consistent with these team fights if they want to make their comeback here and now.
Aerox gets the final shot on Magic Toker, but Aerox is also pretty weak. Needs to get that region up. Nas also getting very low.
We are actually going to see Toker just managed to take down Aerox only a couple milliseconds before his Hue goes off. What's interesting to note, however, is the fact that actually cancel that, because it's just going to be the caps that's currently there. But still, we will be seeing Aerox sitting back up as he wins that downstate fight there. And now it's going to be Commander Quaggan and Aerox taking on both Nas and 5 gauge. Currently, which after he expires the auto fears, Aerox will be pretty competitive versus Nas there. But Nas is trying the best to avoid any DPS possible and lock down the counties before it becomes too much of an issue with the burst coming from Aerox onto Nas.
Yeah, Aerox is down too, so that's 2 members down for Elusive, while 5 are still up. And this, I mean, this is what the Absurd is so good at. Even if they're not all together team fighting, they're so good at these small 2v2 skirmishes. Commander Quaggan's down as well, which means that, well, the quarry should belong to the Absurd now. And of course, like you said, they can just protect 1 node, climb back, get those points, and the onus is on Elusive to make a play. Now, of course, Elusive, the fact is that they're still down so many points here.
Yeah.
Eventually, it'd be like a point where if they can get enough points, can they even do something like rush the Lord to make a comeback in this game?
At this point, unless they can hold decaps, for which they just kind of screwed up their opportunity to do that. Aerox unfortunately got hit up with the auto fears there. But if they were able to hold decaps here for about a minute or so, then they might have been able to get to the 350 point, at which they could have pushed. But now with the 2-cap coming off from the Absurd, that's not going to be happening. And I think we might have our victor here, guys, at the December monthly.
Absolutely. That's 480 points. And not a moment sooner here, as the Absurd most likely will finish this game, might even with the 3-cap, who knows. And how fitting is it that these guys come in here swinging for the fences and immediately making their mark against one of the best teams. finishes out 2-0. Well done to the Abjure. They are your December champions.
Yeah, and indeed, still keeping their reputation flowing, still showing that they are one of the top teams in North America, easily the top team in North America, possibly in the world too. So hopefully we'll see that performance continue on in previous and future weeklies and possibly future monthlies and maybe even WTS as well as that comes closer.
Well, that brings the competition for the day to a close. That's $1,000 to the Abjured, $300 to Elusive, of course, $100 apiece for Radioactive and Dodge or Die. So, you know, those places, the teams who place top 4, you don't go home empty-handed, but still, that's nothing compared to, well, the bragging rights and the money itself. So next month, it's going to be pretty much the same exact thing. Blue, do you have any like final things or final thoughts about the series today, or some of the games or things from this point on?
I just think that at least coming up in these next few weeks here, everybody's been claiming that it's going to be DoD, it's going to be the Absurd heading to Boston. I think with today's event, maybe it got proven wrong a little bit here, as DoD did not perform as strongly as Elusive did. And interesting to see too is that Elusive still played with a double burst comp. They are still playing with a Mesmer Thief comp, which after WTS, when TCG played it and unfortunately didn't play too well with it, a lot of people were thinking, oh, that comp can't work, Telly is going to beat it. Maybe it's going to make a slight resurgence now, and Elusive might be the team to bring it up. And Elusive might be looking like a possible strong contender to not only head into the WTS qualifiers, but maybe be the team to go to Boston as well. We'll have to wait and see. But DoD might not have their spot secured just yet, so it's going to be an interesting next few weeks here in the Guild Wars 2 North American scene as we get closer to that.
I like it. Some uneasiness in the upper echelons of competitive play here at Guild Wars 2 monthly final. Thank you so much for people who are watching. Make sure to hit the follow button on the channel over at twitch.tv/Guild Wars 2. And of course, check out all the stuff happening at ESLGaming.com. And don't forget to sign up for your chance to also compete. For Frodan, Blue, and the rest of the production crew here at ESL America, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.